prior to the purchasing of Cheetah, we had a computer mainframe system called AS400, which is common in the LTL trucking industry. But we did not have shipment visibility throughout the Central Freight network.
Every terminal had individual dispatchers, individual customer service reps, and as well as an entire team of data entry people to help provide the information our customers needed on a daily basis. That process was very manual and very labor intensive.
What would happen is that if a customer had a shipment that he picked up, they would call it in. Someone would take that call and they would write some information down on what we call the T cards.
If they had 2 or 3 different locations they were shipping from, they actually had to write down 2 or 3 different cards. They would go through a battery of questions asking for some very specific information: name, address, location, it was pieces, weight, destinations, and all of this would have to be written down and then somehow funneled over to our dispatchers, who would then take and present it to himself on a working board we call a T-card rack.
There were slots in the rack for each driver, and the dispatcher tried to keep track of what a driver had to pick up based on the T cards that he placed in the rack. Had really no idea of knowing where a driver was or how he was doing. So he had to make a contact with the driver by telephone or by radio to get the information.
And so this became a large challenge, especially given the number of drivers to dispatcher ratio, and trying to manage all the information he was told, verbally or notes that he had made to himself based on what the driver's day was going to be like. It was very challenging and very overwhelming at times, especially during crunch times. The bottleneck in the process in that scenario is the dispatcher. He became the answer man for everything and everybody. In addition to that, the drivers were constantly asked to fill out paperwork. At the stop, you had to fill out this set of paperwork. At the back of the terminal, you had to fill out another set of paperwork. And it was very labor intensive, and it took a lot of time to gather the information that our customers required of us to provide back to them.
And that became a hindrance in the marketplace as viewed by our customers. Customers want real-time information when they want it immediately, and we were not able to give them that without them making a phone call to us. So that presented to Central a competitive disadvantage, not being able to give online up-to-date shipment status to the 3PL community so that they could communicate back to their customer what was going on with their shipments throughout the course of the day.
When we made a decision to go with Cheetah, the rollout process was very simple. We knew exactly what we needed to do and how to do it. Our biggest concern, however, was how would our drivers take to it. We had some drivers who had over 30 years experience behind the wheel, and how are they going to take to all of a sudden doing everything involving a handheld phone? It was a very large concern we had. From the first day of training, the drivers were asked to go out on the street and begin using their new tool. At the same time, our dispatchers, who had probably about 2 or 3 hours of tinkering with the software and understanding how to do the rote process of assigning a route or assigning a pickup request, they began using it as well. So our drivers and our dispatchers were all flying without wires. They were doing it live. And it was very interesting because one of the first things that our dispatchers realized was, I don't need to wonder where Joe is. I know where Joe is. I don't need to wonder whether he's got 3 stops off, and if he's at his 5th stop, I can see that he's at that point in his route. The drivers, on the other hand, realized that they don't need to call in at every other stop or every 3rd stop. As they were using the application and statusing their deliveries, they were communicating with everyone at the same time. So our drivers weren't bogged down with having to manually script things down on pieces of paper anymore. They were interacting with their new tool, which communicated the information much more efficiently and much more effectively to everyone who needed that information.
Very quickly, we heard from the dispatchers that they could look at a map display and could see exactly where the drivers were. The Cheetah dispatch system is always self-adjusting and readjusting the time estimates of when a driver is going to arrive and how long it's going to take for them to get their job done. The customer service people, again with the Cheetah service desk, they have a product that they can use to see exactly the status of a driver and the shipments that he has. So if a customer calls in and asks for the status of a shipment, customer service can give it to them immediately.
It gave us the ability to touch the customer quickly. By that I mean it gave us the ability to touch the customer not only in the area of service, but also touch the customer in the area of cost. We could compete in the marketplace with against our competitors by giving the customers now a very good customer service product as well as a very good service product.
The true value was that our dispatchers, who now had more time to make better decisions by, could also handle a larger workload. And so one of the things we decided to do was to actually incorporate multiple terminal supervision for one dispatcher. A dispatcher in, say, Fort Worth could manage drivers in Sherman, Texas, and 2 or 3 other locations that were easily supported because he had the time now available to make those decisions for those drivers.
It also allowed us to centralize our customer service into one central location. By doing that, it allowed us the ability to train at one location, to develop a professional customer service representative that when a customer calls in, they get a very well-trained professional that is consistent throughout the company, the type of customer service, no matter where our customer is throughout the company. They call into one customer service center and get a very good, professional, consistent answer to their transportation questions. So we've basically, since Cheetah was implemented at Central, we've changed our terminal business model and on how they operate into a more cost-effective model, which allows us to compete in our marketplaces. Since we implemented the Cheetah system, we have been able to lower our costs by about 7% in our P&D operations. And it's allowed us to enjoy a positive financial impact of over $1.5 million annually. And we have been able to do that in a declining LTL market.
I believe we got more than we expected from the Cheetah solution. When you look at the benefits and what we expected to get, the total benefits compared to what we expected to get out of it, it blew us away. When you look at the abilities and the capabilities that we now have as a company to provide information to our customers that's demanded in real time, and to be efficient about how you're doing that, and to be able to reduce our costs and survive one of the worst economic times in our industry, there's no doubt that without Cheetah, we would not have survived.
The system is very, very dependable. And Sprint and Cheetah both work hand in hand to ensure that we have the system up and running at its top capabilities on a day-to-day basis to allow us to run our business. So I'm very pleased with the Sprint portion and as well as the Cheetah portion.